Hailing from the backwoods of New Jersey, welcome to the Jersey Guys Music Podcast, where we feature in-depth music discussions and interviews with special guests from the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and AOR music. So settle in and crank it up. Now, here are your hosts, the Jersey Guys themselves, Tom and Mark.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jersey Guys podcast. I'm Mark Ballo here with my co-host Tom Coyne, and today joining us is a special guest who, quite honestly, this guy is one of my favorite AOR singers in the last 20 years. I think Tom would agree with that, but he's a guy that's had a lot of stuff for the last 40 years, so we're going to talk about that and a little bit of everything that he's been doing lately. But please welcome to the show, Robbie LaBlanc. Robbie, welcome.
Guys, thanks so much for having me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for
much
joining
appreciated.
us.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So what we were saying even before we started, I mean, Tom and I are just huge fans of your voice. I've been kind of turned on to it since 2005 with the debut, or well, actually, it's the second Blank Faces album.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been turned on to it since that time. And yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think between you here in the U.S. and maybe a guy like Kent Hilly from Sweden are probably two of the premier modern day AOR singers right now. So it's really good to be talking to you because we got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about.
Oh my God, fellas, thanks for having me. And Kent, great singer. So to be in the, it's same phrase as Kent. Thank you.
Cool.
Right on.
I don't even know where to start because you've done so many things over the last, 20 years or so. But
Yeah.
you want to, maybe we could jump back to the early days and talk about like the band Fury. You had that with
Sure.
your brother, Brian.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, how you got into music, all that stuff and how Fury came about.
Oh my God. So if I start, let's see, I just turned 65, and let's see, when I was about 3 or 4 years old, my dad was very musical. He played about 7 chords on the guitar. He played a C, an A7, D7, G7, and played all these like Johnny Cash things. And right, but he brought in this guy named Trini Lopez, and it was just back in '63. I would say Trini's this kind of guy that played like folk songs in an upbeat sort of '60s way. It was all live, and he had a great voice. And I tried to sing like him, as a kid. And when the Beatles came in at '64, it was about McCartney, right? And then my brother was a little younger than me, so maybe when I was like 7, and my brother was about 3, I swear to God, I kid you not, we actually could do like harmony already
Wow.
at that young age, and it wasn't taught. We just kind of knew how to do it, right? And so we just kept on singing through the years. My brother had a little lower voice than I did. Mine was always a little higher. And God, we could harmonize anything. We could do the Beatles, the Eagles, the Bee Gees, all that stuff, right? The Everly Brothers, whatever it was. So I would say like through high school, we had some bands. We went to college at UConn, in Storrs, Connecticut. And when I was about 24, I met Felix Cavaliere. Felix was in the Rascals, like,
Sure.
and Felix lived in Danbury, Connecticut, and I was from Stamford, Connecticut. And I met Felix, and he took a liking to me fast, and loved like the demo tape, that we had. So we went with Felix and met Sid Bernstein, the guy that brought the Beatles like to Shea Stadium and all that.
Mm.
What a character Sid was. So we got a record deal with this new label back then called the New York Music Company, and it was kind of a wild label. We cut two videos that are on YouTube. Actually, they surfaced recently. We did in Her Arms, from the first Fury record, and Keep on Dreaming, which was a single.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut those in New York. And if you play them, I have a lot more hair, which was cool. And but yeah, so that was a lot of fun. We cut those in Connecticut. at Soundtech recording, and that album came out, and then didn't it was getting some really nice traction, but you know what happened, guys, was something really really strange. The label, it was like an inside sort of a, I don't know what the word is, conspiracy thing was going on where the label had a budget like to print a certain amount of records,
Mhm.
and records were printed down in I think Hopwog or something. Long Island was the big like pressing plant,
Okay.
and they said they pressed a bunch of records, but they didn't. And there was an inside guy at the label like that siphoned off a bunch of money and stuff. It was a really really bizarre
Wow.
thing, and it was weird. So our we were on like very small rotation on MTV. I remember my brother and I were with Mark Goodman, right? Like the old like VJ, whatever
Oh
it
yeah.
was called,
Yeah.
right? And Mark, I could see like Mark saying, "Who are these guys? Why are these guys on this show?"
Right.
Because we had zero traction, right? I think there was some kind of thing where the owner of the label knew the guy from American Express, which owned MTV, so we were kind of forced on, right? And then we were on like VH1 for a while, and we started to get some some hits, but there were no records in the store.
Ah.
And the album just went whoosh, right?
Mm.
Crazy, man. Crazy
Wow.
stuff. Yeah.
So that kind of went real quick and didn't,
It did. Yeah. And Felix stuck with us for like another year, but then he had to get back on the road and make some money, because he was, at that time, he was 40, and I was about 24, which makes sense because, Felix is 81 and I'm 65, so it's just nuts the years that have gone by. But, Felix
Yeah.
is still out there singing his butt off, man. He sounds great.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Now, do you think it was the reissue of that album on CD that kind of got you in the mix of what would end up being like a lengthy career now as a singer, a prominent singer in the AOR industry?
I think after the Blanc, so then my buddy, well, then we had a record deal with Atlantic that we were signed to Arif Mardin, for a while. Like, and I know you guys know your rock history, and this guy Arif Mardin, brilliant producer, produced everybody like in Atlantic Records, and Arif lived up in Connecticut, and I remember dropping off a DAT tape in his mailbox, and he had phoned me the next day, right? And I thought it was my buddy fooling around with me. He goes, "Hello, is Robert there?" As he was Turkish, right? And said, "Hey, Len, stop fooling around." And, no, this is this is Arif Mardin. You put a tape in my mailbox. Please go down and talk to my assistant Vicky. So we went down to then like Atlantic Records was on 1841 Broadway, right next to Lincoln Center.
Okay.
And we went up there. We had a deal with Arif for about 6 months, and that didn't do well. So then from there, we had a shot up in Connecticut to record at Michael Bolton studio for many, many years, actually. We cut about a good 24 to 36 songs at his house, and he was very, very nice to my brother and I,
Wow.
letting us record in his studio. And back then, he had like a 48-track Sony Digital, which was a state of the art, then. And then from there, that kind of went down. And then my buddy Lenny sent a tape to Frontiers Records, and that's how the Blank Faces thing started. So when that started, I would say that's when the reissue of the Fury record came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird how that
Now
happened.
the first debut on Frontiers, the Blank Faces, was actually the second Blank Faces album that you recorded, right?
So
That would be
yeah, so
this one.
Blanc, yeah. So we had a Blank Faces record. The first one was a self-produced thing, right? So
That's right here. When the World Comes
right.
Down.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh my God. So most of that was recorded at Michael Bolton's house. Not all of it, but we had that out, and my brother sings a lot on that record.
Mm.
So, which was kind of, because we were kind of going through a thing where back at that point in time, if you had a voice like Lou Gramm or like a high sort of rock voice, it was kind of just not looked at as good anymore, right? So my brother had more of like a Tom Petty-ish thing going on, and so we did it. So that was like a compilation, so self-produced, and then the second Blanc Faces, which actually is the first on Frontiers, was the one that I think came out and did a little something, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So who would you say, if you had to pick a couple of guys that you were your musical vocal influences, as we even listen to you today?
Yeah. So yeah, I know we're talking offline a little while ago, but man, it goes from everyone from Felipe Wynn from the Spinners to um, Daryl Hall, and then McCartney, and of course Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. But I'd probably say my favorite singer, when he nailed it, for me, no one was better than Bobby Kimball from Toto. He was
Mm,
my guy that could, man, when he was on it, oh,
good one.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo. He was like, man, we called him Louisiana Lightning. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
he was a beautiful guy. You know, he was very, very nice to me. And Bobby and I used to talk a lot, you know, on the phone. And very, very beautiful man. You know, I really miss him. I do.
What was your connection there with Toto? Because I know you have a little bit of where you've kind of jumped on stage with those guys over the
Yeah,
years, right?
they let me up there a couple of times, which is sweet of them, man. Right? So, yeah, the latest was my buddy Alan Friedman, who's a accountant up here in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I'm in Delaware, you know, but Alan knows them well,
Ah,
and he got me introduced to all those guys like Luke and all the guys. But it was weird. Like I was on the show Star Search with my brother back in 1985,
ah.
and as the band part of it, you know, the whole Ed McMahon thing and
Hmm.
stuff. So we were the band part called the Furies.
Wasn't
You know,
Joseph Williams
Furies.
on that also?
He was on the same show,
Right.
and
Ah.
so there's a clip that maybe some year, you know, maybe 5 years ago, I jumped up on a sound check with Alan with Toto and did a little snippet of White Sister. And
Mm.
after the clip was over, I went back and Joe was there. And I said, "Hey man, you and I were on Star Search back in 1985." And he was, you know, like laughing his butt off. You know, it was hysterical. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yep.
Now you mentioned Grand Funk,
Yes.
a band that I grew up with. We're actually, me and you we're the same age, and to this day means a tremendous amount to me. What did they mean to you and your musical development?
Oh my God. So, you know, just Mark Farner. I mean, let's face it, guys. Look, I'm married 30 years, you know, but you know, when you look at Mark Farner, right? You know, he had the long hair, the thing around his arm, right? He had just this, you know, not a great solo player, but when he opened his mouth, it was like, who the hell is a better singer like than this guy too, right? So it's like Bob, Bobby Kimball, Mark Farner, you know, Lou Graham from Foreigner, of course, you know, in his heyday, right? Mark was just like this grassroots, just kick it in, man. You know, and then when they got Craig Frost on the boards there, you know,
Yes, I always say that it made a huge difference.
just
As much as
opened
the
it up,
stuff
right?
before it was great, it took them
Yes,
to another level. I thought.
it did.
Yeah.
It did, man. And I love those guys, man. I got every record, and I met Mark twice, and the second time was when Felix was playing with Ringo Starr.
Mm.
Felix was in like Ringo's All-Star band, and Felix got us all backstage. You know, like my mom, my dad, my wife, and I,
Yeah.
and we got to see Mark again. And you know, we met like Billy Preston, and we met
Wow.
John John Entwistle was really nice guy. Randy Bachman, right?
Wow.
And you know, of course, Mark was there, and he was just a humble son of a gun. And I said, Mark, I just love your voice, man. He goes, hey, man, the Holy Spirit, you know, and he was, you know, just very, 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 just a beautiful guy. You know, very, very
Yeah. Well,
lovely.
he transcended into Christian music
Christian stuff, exactly.
for quite
Yeah,
quite a while. But
but
when you
man, to
talk about
see,
his lead guitar playing, the thing with Mark Farner is his stage presence and the way he strutted and the way he played the guitar. You didn't even notice he wasn't really that good because he just put it over in such a way that you thought he was great.
yeah, you know, but I really think he's fantastic because I'll try to play some of those licks today, I can't do it.
Right. Well, that was
So
the thing
it's
with a lot
like-
of the 70s players. Like the
Yeah.
shredders, like the kids that were grew up with the shredders look at those guys and they
Right.
think like, and in reality, the shredders will tell you a lot of the things those guys did, they have
Yes.
a hard time replicating. And
Yeah,
he was one of those guys. He wasn't like, like all over the fretboard, but he played some great grooves, and again, the
Yeah,
stage
his
presence was
rhythm.
yeah.
His like rhythm chops were amazing.
His rhythm chops were great.
Yeah, and then he had just that little soulful rock thing, and
Right.
his voice. He could sing anything, right, man? It's just I just love him. I do. Yeah.
And then you had Brewer, who sang,
Right.
some of the
exactly.
best songs that they ever did.
Oh man, I know it. Like Brewer could play his butt off too, man. What a great drummer.
And Mel
Shacker on the
Schaefer.
bass.
I mean, Mel Schaefer, forget about it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
so what I wanted to ask you is, how did you get to the lofty status you are now as a guy that is like really entrenched in the AOR scene as it is today? What do you feel was the album or the recording you did that got you to be a guy that is so much in demand in the year
Oh man,
2025?
I wish I was in demand. I mean, I
Demand in this scene. I mean, I know the scene
thanks
is,
for saying that.
yeah.
You guys, you definitely put me in a whole nother thing. I'm definitely like a legend in my own mind now. So thank you for that tonight. Now I think that any sort of notoriety that has come my way was all about like the Blanc faces started it, and then I kept on going. And the Frontiers guys gave me a shot to do the Find Me thing, and when the Find Me thing came, that's where most of all the accolades or whatever came from. We got some nice reviews. We still have about 10,000 Spotify, people listening, but it's I don't know if there's going to be another Find Me record. I don't know. I don't know if it's run its course, but it was fun to do the five of them. We had a chance to play at a couple shows at Nottingham. Once with Blanc Faces and once with the Find Me stuff. It was a lot of fun. I mean, pretty much anything now. If somebody calls me to do a project or something like that, and I have time like to do it, and I'm not running around with my other job, which you guys know what that is. And
well, we'll bring it into. I was going to wait till the end, but we'll show you. Talk about what you do there.
I'm an old wine guy. Yeah. So if I'm free, I'll cut like the vocals here in my studio, and just an old wine guy. I've worked with Bogle Vineyards out in California for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So just love the wine business and still doing it. Yeah. Yep.
Doing a lot of traveling back and forth, East Coast to West Coast.
I was there last week, actually, like in the West Coast in Sacramento. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. It was cool. Yeah.
Now, you did mention Find Me, and I
Yes.
personally feel out of the 5 albums, the brand new one is the best.
Oh, thank you.
What were your feelings on that album?
Well, the first one was always we had some good cuts. I'll probably say that from the first album, I probably liked 3 of the songs on it. And then the second one was a little better. And then I think the last one and this one are the ones that kind of shine the most. And I think we got a few different writers in to help out, and all the pressure wasn't on Alessandro. We got some more writers in the mix that, to help. And then they allowed me to do a couple of Jimmy Jameson things. And then that, and then the cover from my buddy Vince DiCola wrote that song Far From Over, which was in the Rocky soundtrack. Right. We did a cover on that one, which was a lot of fun. And I don't know, just like having the shot to do a Jimmy Jameson song twice has been a lot of fun for me. I love Jimmy. Never got the accolades that he should have, but still legendary singer for me.
Yeah.
Jimmy
I think in our eyes, I think he definitely got the accolades. One of my favorites. I'm sure one of yours too.
Love
it,
man. Just have a shot to do a couple of those songs was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you covered I See You and Everyone on the most recent Find Me album, and then you did with Desperate Dreams on one of the second 25 was the second album, second Find Me.
I think that was, wasn't
The
it on,
third.
I think that was on the last one.
The last one? Okay.
The one before the new one, yeah.
The fourth one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
Wolf Boy
shame to
Night
hear you say that there might not be another one, because I really do.
I haven't.
And Tom and I talking now how the newest one probably is the strongest so far. So
I appreciate that, guys. No, I haven't heard a thing from Serafino, so maybe it's done. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens. With the help of God, we'll get another one.
well, you mentioned a minute ago. You mentioned Vince DiCola.
Yes.
Let's go over to this band that you had back in, was it 2021, Cannonballz?
Yeah.
Tom and we kind of speculated that this had to be like something that was maybe in the can, an older thing, because of all who was involved in it. I mean, you talked to Alan Friedman earlier. He was a guitar player on that. You had Vince DiCola. You had Jonathan Mover on drums, Doug Wimbash on bass. Really great band. How did that whole project come about?
So Alan Friedman, knows all these guys, right? Like Lukather and stuff, and Vince DiCola, old friend now. And we just wanted to have some fun. So we flew to Los Angeles. God, this is a long time. Like the first Cannonballz record was started before my dad passed away. It's got to be over 10 years, right? Ago. And so we had the record in the can for a while, and it just took me a long time to write lyrics on it. One of my favorite songs of all time, song Sorry, S-A-R-I, is one of my favorite. I don't know what, I mean, if I had to really, guys, take a step back, it's not me singing it like any of that crap, right? Because I can't stand to hear my own music. That song is just so, if Richard Page could do it from like Mr. Mister, that would have been, right? But I love that song. One of my favorite things I've ever sang on. But just to let you guys know, we just cut. So last December, Alan, myself, Vince, Lee Sklar on the bass.
Wow.
So we're gonna have a second Cannonballz record's coming, and
really, that's interesting.
Yeah, and this one's gonna be 20 times better than the last one. I swear to God.
Wow.
It's some great songs on it. We're actually doing a cover of a Toto song, White Sister.
Oh,
that's probably one of my
Slamming.
top 5 Toto
Slamming.
songs.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
what are you looking at timeline for that? You thinking the end of this year or 26?
I want to. We all want to finish it like this year. So with the help of God, we'll do that. Yeah. But
Wow,
we got
that's great news.
Great players on this thing. Yep.
Wow.
So Cannonballz was something that was recent, fairly recent, because at the time, again, like what Mark said, with the guys that were on it, and it really had like that vintage AOR sound.
Yep.
And I was kind of under the impression it might have even been something that was like in the can, like that you guys pulled out, but it's fairly recent. I mean, it was within the last decade it was recorded.
Yes,
Okay.
It was. Yep. And it was all cut, like the basic tracks were cut at the Steakhouse in Los Angeles, and which is a nice little studio, and that's where we cut the second one as well. And so that was done December 2024. No, is it 23? No, it can't be 23.
2021 the album came out, right?
Yeah, but this new one, I think we cut the basic. Basic tracks were cut. Let's just say like January 1st of 24. So we got it. It's a year in the can as far as the tracks go, but now we got to finish everything now. Yeah,
gotcha.
Put all this stuff on it. Yep.
Now, in your opinion, I'm very curious to see what you have to say about this. There are so many AOR albums that come out in this day and time, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with that. So few of them are able to capture the essence of what we know and love. Is it because of the difference in time? Is it because it was basically AOR, as we came to know it, was something that was from New York City and the West Coast, California?
Right.
Is it the fact that there's a lot of European artists that are doing it and it's just impossible to capture the era of the 80s and also that vibe of California and New York City?
That's a great question. I would take even one step further and say, look at how the songs are recorded now, right? So most guys are doing all the Pro
Right.
Tools and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? So back in the day, we used to have to go
Physically
for
go into
takes,
studio.
right? Studio stuff, and still, I don't know. I can tell like when something is like live or cut up or whatever. It's just the feeling about it, and I just think that if you go back, and I force myself to do this all the time. I mean, I pretty much every vinyl record I buy is all the old stuff. I mean, I just got just yet another copy of Bad Company Running with the Pack, right? So it's like, and I'm playing that, right? So I don't play anything new. I really don't. I don't play anything new. I don't buy anything new. And if really anything, I'm going back, finding stuff from the 70s,
Right.
60s or 70s that I haven't heard yet, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to hear anything new. And maybe that's the worst thing I can do, right? But I swear to God, to keep my head in that old game, don't want to hear anything new.
Well, I have
It's
this guy for
hysterical.
that. He tells me about everything and he turns me on to it.
Right. I couldn't tell you really any new artists, man.
Yeah.
None. Yeah.
I kind of juggle both, and I do a lot of what you're saying too. There's a lot of stuff that you thought you knew everything in the 70s, but you
Correct.
didn't because you were a teenager, and in your mind you thought you did. But
Correct.
I'm constantly finding out bands that I missed out on. But I also feel I want to stay current. I don't want to totally live in that because I really do feel rock and roll is a young person's game. And I think that if you look at all the great rock bands, all those albums were recorded by guys in their 20s and early 30s.
Yes.
So I don't want to be that guy that totally lives in the past. So I'm always looking for new bands. But I'm very picky and I'm very critical too. And when it comes to vintage metal or vintage AOR, I'm
Yes.
extremely picky because those are my two loves. And I'm always trying to find the small selection of bands that are able to get it right, as opposed to just sounding at the end of the day like a bad imitation. And
Yeah.
it's a small percentage. And I think what you said is true. Like it was guys that don't go into a studio anymore.
Yeah.
It's got a very cold approach
It
today.
does. I mean, I mean, guys, if I had to like take a band, the latest band that I got into that I actually bought something that was new to me, and you're gonna laugh your butt off. I just know it already. Was the Cult, right?
Yeah.
Prob-
The Cult with
I-
Ian Astbury?
yeah.
Really? Oh, I was
Yeah.
into them before
Yeah.
they were even rock. When
Nothing to laugh about that.
Yeah, when they were like more of like a wave band in the early 80s.
See, I just knew them when I heard the song Firewoman,
Mm.
blew me away. Like Mickey Curry on the drums,
Mhm.
right? Connecticut boy, and freaking Ian Astbury. Oh my God, man! I go, look at this guy.
Oh no, I'm a
He's
huge fan. Yeah,
Woo! I am too. Huge.
check out the album Love.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna load it and stream it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
Love.
buy
That's my
buy the physical
favorite
disc.
album. But it's a couple albums before the one you're just talking about. It's two
Cool, I
albums
can't wait
before
to
that.
hear it.
It's
That's
phenomenal.
awesome.
And it was really kind of before they went like hard rock. They were rock, but with like a little bit of a gothic. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what they started. They started out as the Southern Death Cult, and then they changed.
knew
their
that.
name. Yeah, then they changed their name to the Cult.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
was just
get
rocking.
the album
Yeah.
Love. It's incredible.
Okay, cool. Done. I'm gonna get it
So
from
there's a couple of projects I did want to talk to you about.
Please.
One of them is the Three Tennis project,
Oh, we
which
can't-
I thought the material on that album was incredible, and the way your voice paired up with the legendary Toby Hitchcock.
Brother
I
T.
mean,
Yep. Nice.
Honestly, when I first saw that you three guys, the first thing I thought is, I hope Hitchcock doesn't drown out these other two guys because he's got a voice like.
A powerhouse.
But the way you guys blend it, and you could hear you at certain points, Cantilli at certain points,
Yep.
and the songs. I remember the first time I listened to it, I wrote Mark, and I was like, "You got to hear this album. It is
Oh, thanks,
really,
guys.
really good." Tell us a
appreciate
little
that
bit
very
about
much.
how that all came about, that project.
Yeah. So the Frontiers guys, I was approached by Serafino and Mario and said, "Hey, do you want to do do a record with Kent and Toby?" I went, "Oh my God, yeah! Are you kidding me? This is fantastic." And Alessandro Del Vecchio wrote, I think, all the songs on it,
Really?
produced everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was pretty precise on what he wanted. I mean, he had all our lyric sheets with what each guy was going to sing, which part, and we had all the guide vocals, and then each one of us sang one in its entirety, and it was a lot of fun doing that. I was nervous too because I didn't know what the final mix was going to give Kent and Toby, if they were going to be really shredding it or bringing it back or where to find it. So I just sort of trusted what I had. I gave them about 4 or 5 takes of each song, one a little less, one maybe just a little heavier. And I think with, when they got all the 5 different takes, it was all there, right? So, so it worked out pretty well. Yeah. Thank God you guys heard it, man. That's nice news. Thank you.
I mean, the response on the album I seemed to be really strong. I mean, I just from looking at different, but like my own ears, I absolutely loved it on the first time I listened to it, and I've listened to it probably at least 10 times over, and I just was very impressed by. Each one of you guys have very different voices, and like I said, Hitchcock to me is he's like a legend. I mean, his voice is incredible. And when I saw the three, I know how powerful this guy is, and I was very impressed. And I guess it was Alejandro who put the whole thing together because the vocal layers are perfect. There are some points when all three is singing together, you could hear all 3 different voices, and then there's different parts where you hear it's you, you hear it's them. It's the songs are so. Would you say this guy is one of the top songwriters of all time in this AOR field? I think he is.
Oh yeah, no.
Talk about an unsung hero that nobody really mentions.
He's very much known though in this little circle.
Without a doubt.
Of writing, producing, and all that kind of thing. And I mean, first and foremost, he's a sweetheart of a man, and his heart is huge. He's always doing like animal welfare stuff. He's a vegetarian, and he's just a beautiful, beautiful guy first and foremost. So that's one. Second, I mean, like the guy could write. I mean, he writes so many songs, and I think he's taken a step back, if I'm not mistaken, from the Frontiers camp, so he could like allow himself a little more like leeway to go out like and do other projects that aren't.
He was playing with a band in the States, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he wanted to concentrate on a band thing. Yeah,
he's a keyboard player.
Mm-hmm.
Keyboard player. Yeah, it could sing his butt off. Has a really high voice, right? So, I would get these demos from him, and I'm thinking, I'm too proud to change the key, right? So. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, oh my God, Al, what are you doing to me, man? You're high F, really? Okay. So I really had to buckle down on these songs, man. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you happy how that album came out? Were you thrilled with it?
Yeah. It was just a great, great thing. I'm sorry what the word is. Just a great experience to be with those guys.
It's a terrific idea on his part. I mean, I give him so much credit for having the ingenuity to come up with that whole 3-tenor idea.
It's hard to do that. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you said, he had he had in his head, he had this idea of like parts and who's going to sing what and everything. So it's tough to put together. I mean, you think about was it the Russell Allen and Jorn Lund did those things for Frontiers where they had the dual singers. You guys did the 3 things. So
3. Yeah. Thank God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Now, you've also done work with a guitar player that I've followed for probably the last 25 years, Tommy Denander.
Oh, Tommy,
And you did the Vital Lines album, which I'm a huge fan of that album. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tommy wanted to do a record, and I said, yeah, it would be nice if we could maybe get sort of a Foreigner vibe on it. He goes, oh, that's great, So we got that, and I think we just came out with this new one. I don't know if you guys heard this new one, Blue Ambition, with Frederick Slama.
Yes. Well, we're going to bring that up towards the end,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
know that's
So-
not out till the end of this month. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so both were with Tommy. So different writing styles, but it was fun. Hey guys, look, I'm 65. With the help of God, I don't know how many years you have left, but I lost my brother, 3 years ago, and that was had no idea that was going to come, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to keep the voice going, and I play a lot down here in Delaware, where I live in Lewis, Delaware. So still trying to keep it going. Haven't lost any range yet, so I could still we still do foot stomping music in my cover band, in the key of C. Come on, everybody, yeah, have good time, yeah. So anyway,
Nice.
so Farner's still there. So we're still doing that, and so any project like that comes up, the songs are good, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Well, let's talk. You talked about projects. Let's talk about, and I guess it was kind of a project, because I don't know, and you could tell me a little bit, but your solo album, Double Trouble,
Oh, right.
through Escape,
Records.
which is
Yeah.
A very
Personal
old,
friend.
very old friend of mine, Khalil Turk. We go back like 40 years.
Sweetheart.
yeah.
Sweetheart of a man. And I'm going to ask him when we get some tracks mixed for the, new Cannonballz record. Khalil is a huge fan of Vince DiCola. So I'm going to ask
Yes, he is.
That's right.
Khalil, like, if we could put this album out through him.
He
it
would
would be
probably
great to
bite
have
on
him.
that. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
I hope he does. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that solo album you did with Escape. I mean, it was an
Yeah, so-
album that had a lot of different styles. I actually was working for a website at one point back then, and I did a CD review or an album review of that at the time. And I mean, it had your 80s AOR sound, it had some 70s West Coast in there. It had some pop sounds and stuff. Talk a little bit about the styles on that album.
Yeah, so Tommy wrote, I think, pretty much everything on that, right? So, and it was just fun to hear the styles in it. And Tommy said, "Hey, look, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I don't know. For a solo record, I'd like to touch on maybe just not one genre and just stick to that the whole record." So there was some fun. God, I think even one of the songs had a kind of like Miami Vice vibe to it or something. I'm like blowing the name on it now, but it was a fun song.
He's a
I
big
just
fan
love-
of that show. He got the
Miami
box
Vice,
set.
forget about it.
Total nut for that show. I have the box
Same
set. I
here,
still
man.
watch them.
Same here. Look at I have the DVD like Blu-ray sets to all these things, so I got them all. I put them in. Yeah,
But you know what
I
the
love
amazing thing with
Johnson.
Miami Vice is? I started watching them last year. My girlfriend got me the box set for Christmas. And as you're watching every episode, the music, and I'm still finding out about bands that I'll hear the song
Yes.
and Google them. And I was like, oh shit, I never heard about the music.
Exactly.
Was just unrelenting great from the first season right to the end. And whether it was like something that was high in the song or like background, you'd hear stuff and you'd be like, wow, that's fucking great. What is that? And then you'd have to, I used to write down and go do Google searches of these lyrics and find out these esoteric bands that I never heard of. And this is like,
Oh, it's
I'm telling you,
hysterical.
like last year, like.
It's just great. Yeah, I mean, and then like to see Glenn Fry as an actor.
No,
like, in
that's
a
one of the
couple
best
them.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best. Yeah,
That's
it's
one
amazing.
of the best episodes. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a top 5 episode.
Yeah, so
Smuggler's Blues. That's what the song Smuggler's Blues
right.
because he was
Sure.
he was a
Exactly.
drug smuggler.
Yep.
Great episode.
just like clever writing, the music, the whole thing was just
Oh yeah.
like brilliantly
And
done.
and it captures that era perfectly
It does.
more than any other show. If anybody ever said like what is 1985, 1986 all about, you watch that and that's
Yes.
what it was all about. If you lived in a big city, like I grew up in Brooklyn and New York, whether it didn't matter if it was Miami or LA or that was what life was in 1985.
That's exactly right. And I still do the half beard. Thinking like thinking I'm gonna look like some like half-ass version of Don,
Yeah.
Right.
like an Italian Don Johnson.
Right.
Oh, God help me, man.
Well, we'll talk. I'm going to tell you what my favorite song from your solo album was Pure.
Oh,
Can
Pure
you
was a beautiful song.
tell anything about that?
Yeah, God, man. It was, so it was Tommy Denander and oh my God, and the beautiful Steve,
Steve Overland.
Steve Overland. Oh my God, so Steve wrote, I think I think Steve wrote all the records with Tom, the songs with Tom.
Okay.
Tommy's coming back now, and Steve. So the hard thing about this solo record was I would get the demos in, right, and Steve was singing all these things, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
thinking to myself, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this song, right? It's like freaking Steve Overland,
Hmm.
So I called Khalil. I said, hey man, Khalil, you sure you want me to do this record? I mean, you got all these beautiful songs with Steve on them. You know what? He goes, no, Robbie, you do it. We know that you can do it. And he was very, very supportive. And I gave it my all. I mean, I had to try to outdo Steve Overland, man.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that I did, but I at least like made the attempt to go, well, let me try to get it better or put a little different spin on it to see where it went, right?
Yeah.
But Steve is just an amazing writer, singer.
Oh, unbelievable. Timeless. The guy's ageless.
Ageless is correct. Yeah.
Ageless, timeless. Yeah.
Yeah, he has one of those voices that the minute he opens his mouth, it's him, and that's
Forget
always
about it.
yeah.
He's just he's just.
It's
the
what kind of
best.
separates the real upper echelon when they just like one syllable, and that's Steve Overland.
It's him. Yeah. So
I was lucky enough I got to see FM do their only U.S. show in Chicago.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was that a few years ago?
2017, 18,
Yeah,
something
Oh,
like
geez.
that.
Yeah.
That's 8 years. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Got
Time is
a
just
picture
flying,
of
fellas.
backstage with them, so now I can be happy and
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome.
So what I mean, there's so many things we could go through here. What do you want to pick next?
Sure.
I could go through all the Find Me albums, but I don't think we have enough time to.
Ooh,
Maybe the
let's talk about this one.
the East Temple Avenue,
East
which is an
Temple
album I
Avenue.
liked a lot.
Guys, I owe you one, man. I can't believe you have all the discs there. So
Oh,
you know what? God bless you both. East Temple Avenue. Well, guy named Darren Phillips from Australia calls me and says, "Hey, would you want to do some vocals on this project?" And sorry, guys, I'm a little cold here still.
That's okay.
Hang on a minute. So, beautiful guy that played on all the Find Me stuff, Phil Lindstrom, was going to be a part of the band, and a couple of the guys, from Crush, right? So it was a fun sort of thing. I said, yeah, sure, let me try it, and the music, the songs are really, really cool, and I just we were going to do like a second one, but I didn't have the time really because I was like trying to finish up a couple different things. My brother had passed. I just lost my mom back in August of last year.
Sorry about
That was
that.
a long sort of thing. So it was all these things that I just wasn't like in the headspace for it. Like my heart wasn't there. So maybe we could do another East Temple at some point if we got all the troops assembled again. But it was just a lot of fun. The songwriting was good, and I felt that I could lend something to it, so we gave it a shot. Yeah. But
Yeah, that
really,
was really good songs on that album.
I appreciate that. And we did everything separate. The hard thing is to try to keep it like you're all together, and that's when like like really good like musicians will play like these tracks live in the studio, and even though I'm not singing with them there, I really put myself in a place when I'm with the songs on my phones. I kind of really, really, give it 1,000% to try to make sure that I'm there in the room with them. And I make a conscious effort for that. and I take a lot of different takes of things. I don't put anything through Pro Tools. I don't have it. I
Mm.
do everything the old way, you know. I mean, I do record on a little hard drive unit, but don't put anything through kind of the pitch
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, if those guys want to tweak up something on like their end, I mean, I try not to give them anything pitchy. I'm pretty hard on myself with vocals.
Mm.
If I hear something that that's like a little bit off, I'll like do it again. But if I really like the performance and it's just a shade off, then they may kind of like bring it down a little bit. But
Mm.
yeah, the most part, I don't like to give like pitchy tracks. It drives me crazy. It does.
So let's move on to, you mentioned it a little bit ago, but the most current thing you got coming out now, Blue Ambition, Frederick Slama.
Yes.
Of course, of AOR fame. This guy's had 1 million albums under the AOR moniker over
Yeah.
the years. But talk a little bit about that. I know it comes out, I guess it's officially released at the end of this month, but I know some copies
Okay.
are out there. I know Tom even, I think, got his copy already, right?
I got it. I
That's
haven't
cool.
listened to it. It just showed up in the mail. So
Oh, beautiful. Good. Yeah. So again, you know, I got some of the demos for it, and I mean, I won't do a project that, you know, if I don't think I could do it any justice, right? So I heard some of the songs that, you know, like Frederick, yeah, man, let me do it with you. Sounds cool, you know, and it went pretty fast. You know, knocked the songs off like pretty quickly, and it was a really good vehicle for me to get myself back in the studio head again with my mom and all that kind of thing, you know. So it came at a perfect time, guys.
Mm.
You know, and I like the songs, and you know, Tommy liked the vocals. I think Tommy Denander mixed everything and all that kind of thing. So Frederick liked the the track, so I think they got some nice takes out of me. You know,
Nice.
yeah, it was
Good.
fun
Looking
singing
forward
it.
to that. Yeah.
Oh, good. I hope you like it, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the help of God. Yeah.
I'm sure we will, because again, I think you can see by the pile of CDs and everything we touched on tonight. You know, we've got it all
You
that you
guys are
sing on,
fantastic.
so I'm sure that's going to be another good one, no doubt.
I appreciate that.
before we let you go, I wanted to ask you
Yeah,
about,
guys.
you have an association with Tony and Michael Sciuto?
Tony Shudo? Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. Yeah, I'm putting the
Sciuto,
C in
yeah,
there.
yeah. Think of prosciutto.
Okay,
Prosciutto.
yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm only half Italian. The other half's Irish, so.
Yeah, me too.
I'm giving you the Irish pronunciation.
Right,
I'm very
right.
familiar with. I was a huge fan of Tony's. I have all of his stuff, and Mike did an album, I guess about 20 years ago. It was brilliant. That nobody
Yeah.
even knows it exists, but it's such a great album. And
That is, you know what, man? I can't wait to share that with him because Tony and I have gotten close the last 3 years because I'm in Lewis, Delaware. You know, he's in Rehoboth Beach over here,
Ah,
and we got playing like we do this little Beatles duo together down here. Like
so
he
you're
does on
doing
the
it with
Planet
Tony or Michael?
Tony, yeah.
Tony, okay.
And then Tony and I have a little group with Paul Cohen. Paul played on a couple of years with the Bad Company guys, you know, during the Holy Water days.
Mhm.
oh,
Yes.
So Paul played
One of their
bass
best
for a couple of
albums.
years.
yeah.
Yeah, and then and Tony, of course, you know his history with the Little River Band, and so we have a group called Bad River, and we
Wow.
do like Little River Band and Bad Company.
Really? Oh boy, I'd love to
Good.
see that.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
You play out
and,
in Delaware?
We play in Delaware a lot. Yep, and we're you're in Jersey, you guys, right? Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, I'm in Freehold. Walker's in Kearney.
Freehold.
He's north. I'm
Beautiful.
south.
Yeah.
No, we're doing another Bad River gig. I'm going to let you guys know. You come down. You'll be my guests.
There you
Okay.
go. Okay.
And what do you
Would
play?
love to
Just
have you.
you just play in the Delaware area?
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we might start to expand to Maryland, you know, a little bit. And maybe if the word gets out, we'll get up more. But nice little group. Yeah.
I bet.
I just saw a Little River Band a couple weeks ago.
That's amazing.
Played up here in New Jersey.
Great songs. I mean, you know,
Oh.
people don't realize the hit records
Yes.
that they.
I couldn't believe it.
Lot of
I mean,
hits.
the whole show,
Lot
I
of
was
hits.
like, I thought I maybe was going to know 3 or 4 songs because, you know, I'd never seen them before. I said, I got to see
Yeah.
these guys. I know it's only the one who's left,
Wayne Nelson.
He's the only one left, but I was like, I got to go check it out. And I ended up knowing like more songs than I even thought I would. So it was really
crazy.
enjoyable.
Yeah. And, it like forces me to get my guitar chops like together. Cause some of it, I'm just not used to playing that style. I'm more of a meat and potatoes, like a Tom Johnston guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tom Johnson from the Doobies is probably my favorite front man.
Okay.
Right? And of course Pat Simmons, had Pat, what a wonderful guitar player. Like plays.
Oh, they were such a good. I as a kid, I was taken up with the bass play because again my favorite band was
Tyrant Porter, amazing.
And
amazing.
The only band that I knew that had a black guy in it was the Allman Brothers until I saw the Doobie Brothers. And as a kid, I thought that was so cool.
It is.
All you ever saw was white guys. So what I meant, the Allman Brothers had actually at one point had two black guys. And when I saw the black bass player, I was like, wow, this is so cool. It's another band with a black guy in it.
And what a player
he was a terrific player and singer too.
Yeah, just
his background vocals were great.
But you know what's funny? I mean, if you look at the Doobies' history, I mean, right now there's John Cowan, who's a white guy, of course, on bass. But you've got the history. They went from Tyrant Porter to Willie Weeks,
another black bass player, yeah,
and then Skylark, right. So and Skylark was a really nice guy, man. He was a Skylark, man. Like dude was like 6'7", man.
Mm-hmm.
He was a monster on the stage, but a sweetheart of a guy. Like I met him twice.
Wow,
he was a nice man. Yeah.
And they had two drummers for a while also, which I thought was cool because the Allman Brothers had two drummers.
Yes, and then it was Mike Hasek and Keith Knutson, and then
Keith Knutson, yeah.
Yeah, and then now they got Ed. The last decade, Ed Toth, and Ed used to be the drummer for Vertical Horizon.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Okay.
Long time, yeah. So Ed, so now how I know those guys. Really strange, like a founding member of Vertical Horizon has been in the wine business for a long time. Like he, got off the road. This beautiful guy, Keith Kane, and him and Matt Skinnell were the founders of Vertical Horizon. And Keith got out of that whole touring thing, after this, like they had the huge record, right?
Right.
And then that was on BMG, I think was RCA. And then sort of like Mr. Mister, same label and everything. They come out with their follow-up record, and RCA does nothing to like promote it. Now here's a multi-platinum band. I don't know, like 2-3 million records like Vertical Horizon sold. Right?
Oh yeah.
Well, that was the thing with those bands though. And those 2000 era bands, they got like, they may have had a hit or so, and then they got no support on a second album. I mean, look at like The Calling and stuff like that.
Horrible, It's so Keith has been working up at a distributor up in Massachusetts called Martinetti, and actually Keith and I met because I played in front of the sales group. One thing that I do with my wine meetings is I bring music in. I'm not the guy that just stands there and puts a PowerPoint up and says, "Hey,
Right.
I play music." So we were launching a new wine, and Keith and I completely took "He's Got Everything You Want," and we made it about a wine, right? And the place just went crazy up there. And Keith and I still stay in touch all the time. But Ed Toth was their like drummer for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I know Matt plays with Richard Marx here and there, right? He's had a relationship with him for a while. Yeah.
Yes, it's exactly right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Funny stuff, man.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you wanted to?
Yes. What is your taste in wine?
Oh, my taste. So my favorite varietal, guys, I love a really amazing Pinot Noir. That's my favorite. And we have a brand called Juggernaut as well. It's a little more expensive than the Bogle line, but the Juggernaut
I've had that. I've actually had that. I didn't even know that Bogle made that.
Yes, very, very much. We fly under the radar on that thing because we didn't want our name on it, and we just wanted to do like a project that no one knew our name, and we just had these like wild labels on it. The lion, the the Osprey, the killer whale.
I
the
had
shark,
no
and all
idea
that
that
stuff.
Bogle made that.
Yes,
I
yeah.
actually bought it. I got it in Sam's Club at it.
You know, fellas, I owe you a case of wine, man. Oh yeah,
We could talk.
and it's
I,
coming to
I
Jersey.
could out talk this podcast with wine
I love it, man.
more so than music.
Let's do another one.
Okay. We're going to change our name to the Wine Jersey Guys.
Let's
the
do it.
Jersey Wine
Yeah.
Guys.
Love it.
I'm a big
Fantastic.
California cab and Zinfandel guy. That's my taste.
Oh, I'm a Zin guy too.
Yeah, to
Zin is a
California
close second.
Zins. Yeah.
So you ever have a Turley's Infidel? Turley's in?
No.
Little expensive, but I mean our old vine stuff, the Bogle Old Vine Zin is the best Zin you'll get under $20. And I swear to God, guys, this is not a company statement. It's absolutely true. And but if you want to go above like $20, I mean our Zin's maybe like $11. Above 20, you're in the Turley range, and it's a great, check it out. I mean, Turley makes some of the best Zins around. Yeah.
How do you spell
It's
that?
Turley. But like the Bogle Old Vine Zin just got a 91-point score for like $11. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Nice.
I collect a lot of the California
Cabs?
more so the Zinfandels. My girlfriend's brother is nuts, like wine connoisseur, and has unfortunately turned me on to all these $100 plus bottles.
Yes. Yes.
Which I don't drink on a regular basis. I set up a little wine cellar for myself down here, and I have like about 15 bottles that I keep, and I just keep them. But
that's fantastic.
yeah.
Man. That's so. We should have a night where we hook up, man. Like drink some nice wine. Like maybe after the Bad River gig, you come.
There you
down.
go.
I would
we'll drink
really
some
like
nice
to
wine.
do it because you're really not all that far from us.
No.
But yeah.
I'm always in Jersey, guys.
No,
'Cause
wow.
Are you really?
Yeah. So our distributor, one of them is up in Elizabeth, and one is in Pine Brook.
Okay.
So I'm always around. Yeah.
Real close to me. Yeah. Up in North
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yep. So I'm always around there.
I actually do. A friend of mine, longtime childhood friend, his family had my friend's father. His father had made wine in his house in his basement. Old Italian guy,
Of course.
But he followed his dad, got the family recipe, and he's been making wine now at one of these, I guess, facilities where they kind of do the whole process. For everybody. And he's been doing this for about 14, 15 years now. I partake. I was dragged into it because I'm the graphic arts guy. So I design all the labels every year.
That is so cool. What's the name of the winery?
It's a place called Make Wine With Us.
Right.
And they kind of basically they go through the whole process where they have the individual or the people who want to make the wine. They come in, you can bring in your own recipe. They could get something from them, but they do the whole process from the grape crushing, the barrel thing, the filling, and then finally we do the filling of the bottles, the labeling, the capping, the whole 9 yards. And so I get to partake in that every
fantastic.
year. And I've been doing it for a
That is
while,
so
and it's
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
That's really, really cool, man. That's awesome.
So it's good
Excellent.
stuff.
So we'll have a follow-up episode on wine.
Yes.
Sounds great. I admit 1,000%, fellas.
Excellent. So we will look forward to a new Cannonballz for sure, because when we're talking about AOR and music, that's really exciting news right there.
Oh yeah. Oh great. Yeah. I mean, like this, just sit in the studio with Leland Sklar, with Lee Sklar was just, oh my God, man.
Yeah, another
I mean-
Toto connection there.
I
Right?
actually
Oh,
saw him
yeah.
with Toto when Mike had gotten sick.
Yes.
He filled in for Mike, and I saw him at BB King's in Manhattan play. It was when Bobby Kimball came back, like that when Bobby
Yes.
Kimball's big comeback.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really quick little story about Mike. So this is some years back. My buddy Alan Friedman and I, we like flew out to Chicago to see them. They were playing at either the House of Blues or BB. No, it was the House of Blues there, right?
Yeah, in Chicago.
Or the Hard Rock. Which one has the hotel there? Was it the?
Probably the Hard Rock.
The
I know,
Hard
I know
Rock,
the House
I
of
would
Blues
think
is
the
out
Hard
there,
Rock,
but probably
yeah.
the Hard
So
Rock. Yeah.
they were playing there because we stayed at the Hard Rock. So we went backstage. I actually sat with Mike's wife, Cheryl, and I sat with Richard Marx's wife at the time, you know, and Richard was there as well, but you know, he was down like on stage because he was gonna get on a guest with them. But and I remember Cheryl and I were just talking, and Cheryl just started crying profusely, right? And she said, "Robbie, you know, I don't know what's wrong with Mike." And I said, "Oh my God, Cheryl, what's the matter?" And he had his hands taped that night at the show. So we went, you know, she says, I don't know what's wrong. He's in so much pain, you know. It's after the show, I went back and said, "Mick, what's going on, man?" You know, he says, "Ah, man, my freaking hands. I don't know if it's the tour, but this is my last gig." And son of a gun, Gunfellas, a year later, he was diagnosed with the ALS
Yeah,
stuff.
terrible.
And it
Terrible.
was just a horrible thing. And yeah, he was a real man. We had a lot of laughs together. Oh my God. Like
Wow.
we were, yeah. Once we went to see him in New Orleans, and Mike said to me, "Hey man, let's go watch this guy like in the other room." I go, "What are you talking about?" This is Mike Porcaro, right here. He goes, "We got to check this guy out. He's the Guinness Book of World Records guy that could spin pie plates, like pizza pie plates, like the metal ones,
Yeah.
and have all the, you know, the rods like sticking up
Yeah.
and spinning stuff." And Mike, we were
Well, that's
drinking
pretty
some
impressive. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind
Oh
seeing
my-
that myself.
we were sitting at this. I don't even know where the hell it was now, right? It was in New Orleans now. Like this one was in New Orleans. And it was just this club. And then he had a separate, like, I don't know, like a burlesque sort of room that had all these kinds of things in it. So we're sitting at this long, just like wooden table, drinking gin and tonics. And he goes, "Everybody, here he is. And the guy comes out, you know, and he comes out, and he's got the things on his nose. He's spinning the pie plates, and Mike Porcaro is just beside himself laughing. We had such a fun night that night.
Since
Oh
you're my
God.
age, you might remember there used to be a guy that came on the Ed Sullivan show that did that.
Right, exactly. Like something like that, right?
Yeah, there was.
Oh, God, boy, did we laugh that night, man. He was such a funny dude. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Funny
I'm
guy.
actually going to see Toto in this summer in Atlantic City.
Oh, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Who's in the band? Is Phil and Gaines in again?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Greg
yes, he is.
Philaganis
Great
is in, yeah.
addition. I saw them last year, and he was already back in the band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joseph Williams, Luke. Yeah. William.
They just added another
yeah.
young keyboard player who sounds exactly like Fergie Fredrickson. I mean, to the T. And they've added.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, you know,
They've
I
added some
saw
of his
him.
songs in the set, the Fergie Fredrickson songs in the set.
Yes. You know, I liked a lot of that. I think it was the Isolation record, and I know
Right.
that Fergie had a big thing to, you know. I mean, God, I mean, like Kimball's going, like Fergie's going to come in, right? But still, I mean, Fergie had some great, I don't know, like vocals, you know, like
Oh,
Yeah, great. Yeah.
yeah, like the Angel Don't Cry.
Yeah. Well, they were
Lion,
doing that.
You know,
right?
Lion was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're lying in a sweat, right?
Yep.
Great stuff, man. Killer.
We'll talk about where we're on the Toto kick. I caught it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You did in 2018. You did a cover with Michael Pallas.
Oh,
you did
right.
"You Got Me" from the seventh
Yeah.
album, right? What was that all about?
I did my best to channel Joe on that one.
You did. I was
was
just
weird.
playing it for Tom before.
I don't know, like Michael Pallas, talented kid. He goes, "Hey man, would you sing on this track?" Of course I will, man. Sure. Yeah, it was fun.
That's
That's
cool.
a guy I'd love to see you pad off with, because if you ever listen to his first album, have you ever heard his first album?
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
Yes,
it
it
really
is.
captures the 80s AOR. And in no deference to him, I don't think all his albums after that haven't really captured what he had on that first album.
First one, right.
You would be a great combination to do I should put it in the suggestion box, the Frontiers.
Yeah. No, that'd be a lot of fun, brother. Great idea. That's really cool.
Because he's a talented guy, and I don't think the
Oh,
best has come
super,
out of him because
super
he kind of
talented.
stumbled upon it on his first album. Because I remember writing him and telling him, geez, like you sound like this, and like all these like obscure 80s. He had no idea who I was even talking about. He just came up with this stuff on his own. But he really hasn't, he hasn't grown
Right.
from that, like he may
Yep.
need like a pairing with somebody like you.
Oh, that would be great. I
Yeah.
mean, it would be a fun time. I don't know, like
He's a
just
real
a really great
talented
thing.
guy. He's a good guitar
Yeah,
player.
he's
He's got a good
fantastic.
voice. The two of his voices would work well. Yeah. I'll talk to Khalil on that
There
one.
you go. Get an escape going too.
Beautiful. Love it.
So is
Oh,
that everything?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Well, Robbie, man, it was a great talk. Real loose conversation tonight. Appreciate the stories. A little bit of the wine stuff, a little bit of Toto. It's all good,
Oh man, thanks for having me, fellas. It's really thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
No, it was a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you got it.
All
You
right.
got it, guys.
All right.
Take care, brother.
We'll keep in touch. Talk soon.
Please,
Okay.
peace.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.